When Shaul and Silas was in Berea, the believers searched the scriptures to see what Shaul was teaching was true. And Believers with Guts is going to challenge Pastor George's stupidity, golden calf, go-to verse, Deuteronomy 17:8. And the truth said, and once you know the truth will set you free from all organized religion. Today we're going to find out that this verse means how all hard civil crimes and conspiracies and oaths. These cases, the accused, the judge, and the priest appointed at that time will bring these cases before the Creator, and the Creator is going to be the final judge on all hard matters and oaths, because for all the earth belongs to Him. Before we investigate Deuteronomy 17:8 through 12, let's put this in proper textual and historical context. A wise man told me that the oral Torah is in the written Torah. Moses said the Torah is not hard, and in the spirit of the Torah could be broken to 3 easily parts, so simple that any child can understand. First, we have Genesis, the beginning. Second, the written Torah, Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers. And third, Deuteronomy, the oral Torah. Moses is orally giving the written Torah to the second generation at Mount Moab. Some commandments are new for excellent reason, but most of the book is a reminder of the Creator's Torah. So for proper context, the Torah is the first 5 books of the Bible, written by Moses about 3,500 years ago, where at Mount Sinai, ancient Midian, today northwest Saudi Arabia, and who the Torah applies to, Israel and the mixed multitude at Mount Sinai, everybody born on this planet, because we all bleed the same color.
That's good. One less thing.
Now that we have the Torah in proper context, let's see how Judaism uses Midrash, irrational interpretation of Deuteronomy 17:8 through 12 as their unauthorized heaven authority. Midrash interpretation ignores historical, textual, and language context. When an ancient Israelite heard this verse, they knew exactly where this commandment was coming from. And when the believer reads this verse in proper context, they also know exactly where this commandment was coming from.
Chapter 17. Suppose a case arises in a local court that is too hard for you to decide. For instance, whether someone is guilty of murder or only of manslaughter, or a difficult lawsuit, or a case involving different kinds of assault. Take such cases to the place the Lord your God will choose, where the Levitical priests and the judge on duty will hear the case and decide what to do. The decision they make at the place the Lord chooses will always stand. You must do exactly what they say. After they have interpreted the law and reached a verdict, the sentence they impose must be fully executed. Do not modify it in any way. Anyone arrogant enough to reject the verdict of the judge or of the priest who represents the Lord your God must be put to death. Such evil must be purged from Israel. Then everyone will hear about it and be afraid to act so arrogantly.
Verse 11 is where they pervert the scriptures for manipulation and intimidation when tested.
After they have interpreted the law and reached a verdict, the sentence they impose must be fully executed. Do not modify it in any way.
In the Midrash Pesita Rabbati section 3 it says, a person must not say, I will not keep the commandments of the elders, because they are not from the Torah. The Creator says to a person, no, my son, rather all they decree upon you observe, as it is written, according to the instructions they teach you. In Deuteronomy 17:8-11, even I, the Creator of heavens and earth, must obey their decree. The ancient Pharisees uses this verse with their added oral law and taught Israel as if they have heaven authority from an unbroken chain of oral ordinations from Moses. But during the time of Yeshua, when he taught the written Torah and the prophets, the common people was amazed at his doctrine, for he has taught with one who had real authority.
Chapter 7. Anyone who listens to my teaching and obeys me is wise, like a person who builds a house on solid rock. Though the rain comes in torrents and the floodwaters rise and the winds beat against that house, it won't collapse because it is built on rock. But anyone who hears my teaching and ignores it is foolish, like a person who builds a house on sand. When the rains and floods come and the winds beat against that house, it will fall with a mighty crash. After Jesus finished speaking, the crowds were amazed at his teaching, for he taught as one who had real authority, quite unlike the teachers of religious law. The Gospel of Mark, chapter 1. Jesus and his companions went to the town of Capernaum, and every Sabbath day he went into the synagogue and taught the people. They were amazed at his teaching, for he taught as one who had real authority, quite unlike the teachers of religious law. A man possessed by an evil spirit was in the synagogue, and he began shouting,
"Why are you bothering us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One sent from God."
Jesus cut him short. "Be silent. Come out of the man." At that the evil spirit screamed and threw the man into a convulsion, but then he left him. Amazement gripped the audience, and they began to discuss what had happened.
"What sort of new teaching is this?
They asked excitedly.
It has such authority. Even evil spirits obey his orders."
The news of what he had done spread quickly through that entire area of Galilee.
During the time of Yeshua, the common people knew that the Moses authority that the Pharisees taught was powerless. Midrash Rabbati says, according to the instructions which they teach you. But in the Bible, the Torah says, after they interpret the Torah, New Living Translation, sentence of the Torah, King James, terms of the Torah, New American Standard. However, other Bibles does say, according to the instructions they give you, NIV, aka 9 Inspired Version, instructions they give you, Christian Standard Bible, accept their verdict, Good News Translation. The ancient Pharisees used this doctrine so they could pervert their way to politically campaign their oral commandments, mixed with the already established written words of Moses for all Israel to obey, so far that the Creator has to obey them since the Torah is not in heaven. But in Judaism, the rabbis that claim they're following a heaven authority doctrine also use the verse, sentence of the law. But in rabbinic theology, that means their made-up oral law and the Torah. Let's challenge Pastors George, others, stupidity, golden calf, go to verse Numbers 11 to see if there's any evidence of Moses choosing 70 leaders, his origins of the Sanhedrin, to establish a court that's above the people, and if Moses gave these leaders heaven authority to make up their own commandments and to judge Israel on their made-up commandments mixed with the written words of Moses.
Chapter 11. The people soon began to complain to the Lord about their hardships. When the Lord heard them, his anger blazed against them. Fire from the Lord raged among them and destroyed the outskirts of the camp. The people screamed to Moses for help, and when he prayed to the Lord, the fire stopped. After that, the area was known as Taberah, the place of burning, because fire from the Lord had burned among them there. Then the foreign rabble who were traveling with the Israelites began to crave the good things of Egypt, and the people of Israel also began to complain.
"Oh, for some meat!"
They exclaimed.
"We remember all the fish we used to eat for free in Egypt.
And we had all the cucumbers, melons, leeks, onions, and garlic that we wanted.
But now our appetites are gone, and day after day we have nothing to eat but this manna."
The manna looked like small coriander seeds, pale yellow in color. The people gathered it from the ground and made flour by grinding it with hand mills or pounding it in mortars. Then they boiled it in a pot and made it into flat cakes. These cakes tasted like they had been cooked in olive oil. The manna came down on the camp with the dew during the night. Moses heard all the family standing in front of their tents weeping, and the Lord became extremely angry. Moses was also very aggravated, and Moses said to the Lord,
"Why are you treating me, your servant, so miserably? What did I do to deserve the burden of a people like this? Are they my children? Am I their father? Is that why you have told me to carry them in my arms, like a nurse carries a baby, to the land you swore to give their ancestors? Where am I supposed to get meat for all these people? They keep complaining and saying, 'Give us meat.' I can't carry all these people by myself. The load is far too heavy. I'd rather you killed me than treat me like this. Please spare me this misery."
Then the Lord said to Moses, "Summon before me 70 of the leaders of Israel. Bring them to the tabernacle to stand there with you. I will come down and talk to you there. I will take some of the Spirit that is upon you, and I will put the Spirit upon them also. They will bear the burden of the people along with you, so you will not have to carry it alone. And tell the people to purify themselves, for tomorrow they will have meat to eat. Tell them, the Lord has heard your whining and complaints. If only we had meat to eat. Surely we were better off in Egypt. Now the Lord will give you meat, and you will have to eat. And it won't be for just a day or two, or for 5 or 10 or even 20. You will eat it for a whole month until you gag and are sick of it. For you have rejected the Lord who is here among you, and you have complained to him, Why did we ever leave Egypt?" But Moses said,
There are 600,000 foot soldiers here with me, and yet you promised them meat for a whole month. Even if we butchered all our flocks and herds, would that satisfy them? Even if we caught all the fish in the sea, would that be enough?
Then the Lord said to Moses, "Is there any limit to my power? Now you will see whether or not my word comes true." So Moses went out and reported the Lord's words to the people. Then he gathered the 70 leaders and stationed them around the tabernacle. And the Lord came down in the cloud and spoke to Moses. He took some of the Spirit that was upon Moses and put it upon the 70 leaders. They prophesied as the Spirit rested upon them, but that was the only time this happened. 2 men, Eldad and Medad, were still in the camp when the Spirit rested upon them. They were listed among the leaders, but had not gone out to the tabernacle, so they prophesied there in the camp. A young man ran and reported to Moses,
Eldad and Medad are prophesying in the camp.
Joshua son of Nun, who had been Moses' personal assistant since his youth, protested,
Moses, my master, make them stop.
but Moses replied,
Are you jealous for my sake? I wish that all the Lord's people were prophets, and that the Lord would put his Spirit upon them all.
Then Moses returned to the camp with the leaders of Israel. Now the Lord sent a wind that brought quail from the sea and let them fall into the camp and all around it. For many miles in every direction from the camp there were quail flying about 3 feet above the ground. So the people went out and caught quail all that day and throughout the night, and all the next day too. No one gathered less than 50 bushels. They spread the quail out all over the camp. But while they were still eating the meat, the anger of the Lord blazed against the people, and he caused a severe plague to break out among them. So that place was called Kibroth Hattaavah, the graves of craving, because they buried the people there who had craved meat from Egypt. From there the Israelites traveled to Hazeroth, where they stayed for some time.
The chapter says the people are complaining. Moses and the Creator's anger is blazed. Moses chooses leaders and the Spirit comes upon them. However, this action never happened again because later on that generation died. We also learn that any of the common people can be elected as a leader or a judge. Any strong believer can receive the Holy Spirit like Eldad and Medad did. The Creator gives the Holy Spirit to anyone he chooses. The chapter ending with the anger of the blaze of the Creator putting a plague on the people for their complaining. Here there is no evidence of the Creator establishing a court to put above the people, or Moses giving the judges, leaders, heaven authority to judge Israel on their made-up commandments and ceremonial laws per Pastor George's example. After investigating Numbers 11 and Deuteronomy 8 in its proper historical textual context, without a shadow of a doubt, these 2 verses have nothing to do with the Creator establishing a court above the people, and Moses giving any heaven authority to any man to make up any commandments. But in rabbinic theology, Pastor George and the rabbis claim they're following a Mosaic authority doctrine. The ancient Pharisees and modern-day rabbis that claim that they have Mosaic authority uses this doctrine and has turned the life-living words of Moses into a man-made, organized religion system. Yeshua commanded us to watch out for the leaven of the Pharisees. He called them blind guides, brood of vipers, liars, evil men, hypocrites, sons of the adversary, and spiritual adulteress. Yeshua freed us from the slave chains of all organized religion. He commanded us to take up our lives and obey Moses like he did, and follow in his footsteps, and do not follow the Pharisees' made-up reforms Takanot and precept Masasim, no matter how good it sounds or no matter how it can help you, because the word of Moses is already there for you. The ancient Pashim and the modern-day Rabbi claim they obey Moshe, but not the written words of Moshe. They follow a made-up Rabbi Moshe and a Mishnah Torah.